In today's video we're going to have a closer look and chat about these two very similar Dendrobium orchids. So let's get going. Now, some of my videos have the bit on the end. This is a bit at the beginning. I just thought I'd show you this because this was a surprise spike that just appeared the other day. Literally 3 days ago, this spike was this big with tightly clustered buds. So in 3 days it's done this. And I suspect in the next 3 days some buds will start opening. We've got one blasted bud, I'll live with that, but apart from that it looks like it's going to be quite good. So that was that, and the other thing was my memory sometimes has moments where it just lets me down. What is that space for? Obviously something was there and it got moved, and I can't for the life of me think what it was. The only thing I can think that it might have been was I might have actually put that there and made space for that because it was going to be in flower, and then changed my mind because getting it up higher might be a better idea. Anyway, while we're over here, this opened quietly in the background. This is Prosthetia Midnight Star, and the light's not good for this because basically it's very bright in here. But this has got to be a relatively quick video for obvious reasons. I've got the doors wide open and the fan off, and the temperature is climbing. But it's a hazy day today. It's not bright blue sky sunshine, and the cloud comes and goes. So sometimes there's just no sun at all. But the heat's still there. It won't go away. Anyway, a closer look at that. Now, back to the video in question. The two Dendrobiums. Now, this is Dendrobium lindleyi. This is Dendrobium jenkinsii. Now, at one time, jenkinsii, it's a long time ago, was thought of as a variety of lindleyi and was called Dendrobium lindleyi variety jenkinsii. But eventually somebody realised they are very different species. Although incredibly similar, they have very obvious differences. And the main difference is that lindleyi grows away from whatever it's attached to, its trunk or its branch. It grows away. Yeah? Lindleyi tends to try and grow quite flat and has a much layered effect, so it doesn't take up as much height. It's more space. Also, lindleyi is quite a lot bigger. Jenkinsii stays quite small. I mean the size of the canes. So why have I got these down then? Lynn gave me these to try and grow on because she knew I lost the ones I had, and obviously had spare. And they spent all of last year doing absolutely nothing. And I mean nothing. No new roots, no new growths. And as a consequence, we've gone past the time when these would bloom, so we've got no blooms this year. But I think the winter treatment, the dormancy period that I gave them, has actually done them some good. Now we'll start off by looking at the jenkinsii, and we have 1, 2, 3 new growths. So that's 3 new growths that we didn't get last year because we had none. And that doesn't mean to say that's all I'll get this year, but if it is, I'll live with it because 3 new growths is better than none. And it advances the plant because with those growths will come some new roots. Now earlier this year, this one did actually start producing some new roots. They're not very big and they're off a part of the plant, you know, that wasn't doing anything at the time. But nonetheless, you know, we've got 3 nice new growths coming, and I suspect we will get some new roots. Now the lindleyi, on the surface you look at the plant and you think, well, there's nothing happening. Yeah, well, yes there is. It hides, it plays games. So down at the bottom end of the plant we've got 2 new canes growing here, and then up the back at the top of the plant we've got another one growing here. That one looks like it's going to be a nice big strong one. Certainly this area of the plant is the stronger, newer part, and this is the older part. But it obviously shot out sideways here. Now when this was given to me, this was the aspect. And I decided that the older part of the plant probably wasn't going to do anything, so I stood it upright. It could go either way. But if I have it this way, then the older part of the plant with no leaves on is at the top. And you know, we got canes hanging downwards, so I thought we'll have it that way up. Right. Now stay still, do as you're told. Right, so these two need the same care. They don't need anything different done. They will be quite happy with exactly the same care. Now if you start off in late winter, early spring, nothing will be happening, and effectively at that point they will have been given their dry winter rest. So dry winter rest for Dendrobium also involves a cool down, and it also needs a light increase. They need the brightest light you can give them in that winter rest period, and no feed whatsoever, and a spritz with some water very infrequently to just stop them shriveling. But with both of these, trying to detect whether the plant's shriveling or not is incredibly difficult, because this is what the bulbs look like. This is their natural look, so they already look shriveled. But when you see a new growth progress and mature, they are quite plump and rounded, and then the shriveling comes later. But it doesn't mean the plant's dying. You've got that is the real secret of getting that winter right, is the very, very limited amount of water, brightest light possible, and a nice cool down. That does them the world of good. So you get late winter, spring, nothing much happens, and then as you move into later spring you start getting much longer day lengths, or amounts of daylight. The actual length of the day doesn't change, does it? But you get longer periods of daylight, and that's what's likely to trigger the plant into bloom. So the first signs of life under normal circumstances will be the start of some spikes. Now the spikes on the jenkinsii, we used to play a game with the old one that I have, Let's Spot the Spikes, and I'd count like 5 spikes and then zoom in and go very, very close to the plant and defy my viewers to spot any of them, because they are so tiny when they first start. But they grow at a reasonable pace. Now the spikes on the lindleyi are much more easy to spot. They're more sturdy, they're more large, and that also applies to the blooms. The blooms on lindleyi are larger, the spikes are much longer, and they have a lot more blooms. The blooms are quite similar to look at. I can understand how one was considered a variety of the other in the old days, especially as a, you know, you wouldn't see them together that often, I suppose. That's half the problem. So anyway, you come into spikes like that, and in some environments those spikes will have to finish before the new growth start. In other environments the new growths will start during blooming, and in my environment, because I haven't got any blooms, these new growths are starting late in the growing season. We're not far off June now. June has got midsummer in the middle of it, or just after the middle of it. So in the growing season terms, these have started late in my environment, and that's what I have to put up with. That applies to most of my orchids. They all start growing later in the season than I would like. Now that's just my environment. This is a north-facing conservatory, so it doesn't get any sun. It doesn't get that good increase in light. As the amount of daylight increases, it's the same type of daylight. I don't get that extra brightness, which is what that's what triggers a lot of growths. But these are now coming into growth. Feed and water well. Don't overdo the feed. You know, they're not cymbidiums or pleonies. They need what I would class as a medium orchid feed, which for me, that plane's a bit loud because the door's open. For me, a medium feed, which is what most of my orchids get, I suppose, is a TDS of about 200 to 300. And often the strength will depend on what they had before. For instance, if they had a good flush before, then I'd probably go in nearer the 300 mark. And then I would follow that with possibly a 200. But these are rough measures. I don't do science. I don't measure it exactly. I put some feed in the water, give it a stir, measure it, and as long as it's somewhere near what I had in mind, that'll do. And as far as pH is concerned with my orchids, I spread the load. So I can have a pH as high as 6.6 on some waterings and as low as 5.8 on others. And I vary it deliberately because certain nutrients are absorbed better at higher pHs and some are absorbed better at lower pHs. So by varying it, by hook or by crook, all the nutrients required get in there at some point. And some of them are in minute quantities anyway, but they're still required. So anyway, we're in the growing season, we're feeding and watering well. Eventually, coinciding with the amount of daylight starting to drop off dramatically, the new canes will mature. So the leaf will be as large as the largest ones on the plant, unless it's a young one, in which case they'll be bigger. And the bulb will be up to mature size for the plant. At that point, it's finished growing. So you have to stop and ask yourself and apply some logic. If it's finished growing and there's no more growing on, why would you want to chuck feed on it? Stop and think. So the plant is telling you when it's thinking about going into its winter rest period because it's finished growing for the year. No new shoots. All the roots you're going to get, you've got, and your canes are mature. Your leaves are up to the size they're going to get. They're not going to get any bigger. You only get one leaf per cane on these two. Occasionally I have had two leaves on lindleyi, but never on jenkinsii. But most of the time you get a single leaf. So anyway, that should coincide with what we certainly call in the UK autumn. And it really is coming out of October and into November. Temperatures should be dropping off, certainly at night. The amount of daylight is less, so the amount of daylight day temperature should be lowering. And basically what you're going to try and do with your plants is ease them off the feed and the water that they've been getting. So you can drop the feed down over a period of a couple of weeks. That's easy to do. You just literally, what I would do is I'd water at the last watering they get with the normal feed, the following watering that they get, which depending on the temperature could be a few days or possibly even heading up towards a week. I would half it. And then the following one I would half it again, and the following one I'd probably stop. So I drop my feed level down quite quickly because there's no growth. The feed is of no use. So you can cut it down quite quickly. And then as you head through November into December, where the amount of daylight is at its shortest, winter solstice and all that, you get your watering right down to next to nothing. And you do that, I do it over a period of probably 4 to 6 weeks. Beginning in November till mid-December, something like that. Sometimes I start a bit earlier than November, you know, sort of later in October. But I let the plant and the weather dictate, you know. And then once you get into the true winter rest period, if you haven't already done it, they need to be in the brightest light position that you've got that is cool. Yeah? So during this winter rest period, they will take full winter sun quite happily, because there's no strength in it, and it's the brightest, you know, we're talking UK here, that's the brightest light you're going to get, isn't it? So if you can find somewhere where they can get some sunshine and it's cool, you know, obviously that sun doesn't do dramatic temperature rises, then that will do them the world of good and will increase your flowering. It will do it the world of good. That's what that rest period generates. Internally in the plant, it starts the production of those spikes. You can't see them yet, they're internal, but they're starting. And then, as I said, if you're lucky and the plant's mature enough and you've done a reasonable job with that rest period, then come the end of the rest period, as the amount of daylight increases, daytime temperatures go up a bit, you might see some spikes. And when you see some, you can jump up and down and go yippee, because some people have a lot of trouble getting these to bloom. I'm hoping to get blooms next year. I'm not going to get any this year. If I did, I would be over the moon and incredibly surprised. So that's your basic seasonal care for these. It applies to quite a few Dendrobiums as well. But I have now got growth on my two. Now the jenkinsii, the growths are pushing on, they've got leaves, you know, they will mature. I'd like to get some more, but at least I've got some. So I've only just watered these, a bit wet. But the lindleyi, the growths have only just started. But they do get quite large before the leaf comes out. But we will get, you know, as I say, we've got 3 new growths, so that's not a lot for the size of the plant, but it's 3 more than last year. And there's still time. Oh, there's 4. I missed that one. See what I mean? They hide. There's one round the back there that I missed completely. And under the base of that are new roots. So we got that one at the top, and the 2 down there. 4. Yay! So you win the race, you've got 4, you've only got 3. Right, so that will have to do. I hope you're enjoying the new format. For those of you that are new to the channel, you won't know what the old format was. So I hope you just enjoy it as it is, because that's how it's staying for a while, till I get fed up with it. And the piece on the end of the video is now a standard thing on my video, and it's mainly for new people that come in that find the channel, and it basically gives you an opportunity, if you've liked the video and you've got to the end, well, you must have liked it to have got to the end, then it gives you an opportunity to watch another one. That's the idea of the little clip on the end. And yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed that. You don't very often see videos with these two in the same video. There's quite a lot of videos of each one in turn, but not very often are they together where there is a direct comparison. And I mean, you can see they are quite different plants, aren't they? But if you couldn't compare them next to each other and you didn't have a size comparison, they would look a lot more similar than they do when they're next to each other. So there we go then, and hopefully you've enjoyed that, and if you did, it would be nice if you subscribed if you're not already subscribed. Don't forget the old thumbs up. Neither of those cost you anything, just a few seconds of your time, and it helps with the channel. So hopefully I will see you again in the next one. Bye for now.